Ever feel like you're constantly racing against the clock? I know I do.
Yeah.
You're not alone. You sent us this great article, 12 Laws of Time,
Yeah.
and we're going to break it down, see what we can learn, and hopefully discover some practical tips you can put to use right away.
Yeah, it's interesting you say racing against the clock because the article actually starts by acknowledging this universal feeling of being short on time. Like we're all juggling a lot these days.
It's so true. Between work, life, family, friends, like
Yeah.
finding time to just breathe can feel like a luxury.
Right.
But I like how this article reframes things. It's not about finding more time. It's about mastering the time we have. They even call time management a skill, which I found really empowering.
It is empowering because it suggests that we're not simply victims of circumstance. We can actually improve our relationship with time.
Yeah.
And the article makes a really crucial point early on. Time is a finite resource.
Hmm.
And just like we wouldn't approach our finances without a budget, managing our time effectively also requires planning and awareness.
Okay, so acknowledging the time budget is step one. But how do we move beyond just another to-do list? That's where these 12 laws come in. What I appreciate is they aren't just theoretical concepts. They're practical tools.
Exactly. They offer a framework for making conscious choices about how we spend our time,
Mm,
rather than just reacting to the constant demands of the day.
right.
And while all 12 laws have merit, let's maybe focus on the ones that might be most impactful for you, given your busy schedule and goals. The first one that comes to mind is Parkinson's Law. Have you heard of this one?
Yes, Parkinson's Law, the one that says work expands to fill the time allotted.
Exactly.
It's funny how true that is, right? Like, I know if I give myself a whole week to do something,
Yeah,
it'll take a whole week.
precisely.
Yeah.
But if we set a firm deadline, even if it feels a bit ambitious, we force ourselves to be more focused and efficient. So setting realistic deadlines is key, but sticking to them is where the real magic happens.
It's all about creating that sense of urgency, which can be a huge motivator. Now, speaking of maximizing output, let's talk about Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule.
The 80-20 rules is a classic for a reason. Have you ever noticed how a small portion of your work often leads to the most significant outcomes?
All the time.
That's the 80-20 rule in action.
But knowing it intellectually and actually applying it are two different things.
Absolutely. The real challenge is identifying that crucial 20% in your own work, those tasks that truly drive results. Once you've pinpointed them, it's about ruthlessly prioritizing them and potentially delegating or eliminating some of those 80% tasks that might not be the best use of your time.
Which is really hard, especially when you feel that pull to be productive all the time.
And that's where another law becomes so relevant, Carlson's Law. In today's hyper-connected world, it feels like we're constantly bombarded with distractions.
Seriously, it's like our brains never get a break.
It's exactly. Carlson's Law highlights how detrimental interruptions are to our focus and ultimately our productivity. Think about how many times you check your email or get pulled into a quick conversation while working on a complex task. Each time that happens, it takes a mental toll.
Ugh, it's so true. You finally get in the zone and bam, another notification pops up. So how do we combat this constant onslaught of distractions?
Well, the article offers some great practical tips.
Okay.
One is to group similar tasks together to minimize context switching. Instead of jumping between writing a report, answering emails, and then back to the report, dedicate blocks of time to each activity. This allows you to fully immerse yourself in one task at a time.
That makes a lot of sense. It's
Yeah.
like creating those mental boundaries. What else does the article suggest?
Another strategy, and this one's really powerful, is to actually design a dedicated workspace that's as distraction-free as possible.
Oh, interesting.
This could mean silencing notifications, putting your phone out of sight, or even investing in noise-canceling headphones if you work in a bustling environment.
Yeah. Those are great tips. I'm definitely guilty of trying to work with a million tabs open and my phone buzzing constantly.
I think we all are to some extent.
No wonder I can't focus. Okay, so we're managing distractions, prioritizing ruthlessly, and setting those firm deadlines. What other time management gems can we unearth from these laws?
Well, let's shift gears slightly and talk about a law that might surprise you. It's called Illich's Law, and it challenges this pervasive idea that we should be striving for endless productivity.
Oh, tell me more about this Illich's Law. It already sounds intriguing.
It basically states that there's a limit to how productive we can actually be. Beyond a certain point, our output actually starts to decline and we risk burnout. It's like running a marathon at a sprint. You're going to crash eventually.
That makes a lot of sense, but it feels so counterintuitive to everything we're told about productivity, right?
It does go against the grain a little bit, which is why I think it's so refreshing. This law encourages us to acknowledge our limits and embrace the fact that we don't have to be on all the time.
So how do we know when to push and when to pull back?
That's where self-awareness comes in, I think.
Mm.
The article really emphasizes the importance of understanding our own rhythms and energy levels, which ties into another law we discussed earlier, Free's law.
Right, Frase's law all about working with your natural rhythms, not against them. Like, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Exactly.
Hmm.
If you know you hit your stride after lunch, don't try to force yourself to tackle those complex, mentally demanding tasks first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Save those for when your energy and focus are naturally higher. Conversely, if you're an early bird, capitalize on that morning clarity and reserve the less demanding tasks for later in the day.
It's all about optimizing your schedule to align with your own personal energy flow.
Precisely. Now, I know we've been talking a lot about maximizing our time at work, but there's another fascinating law that takes a slightly different perspective. Pearl's principle.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is Pearl's principle all about?
It encourages us to be more present and focus on the here and now. The article mentions that a staggering 70% of our worries revolve around things that have already happened or might never happen.
Oh, wow, that is scarily accurate. How much time do we waste stressing about the past or overthinking the future?
It's easy to get caught in that cycle of worry. But Pearl's principle reminds us that the only moment we truly have control over is the present one.
Yeah, that's a really powerful reminder. So how do we actually become more present? Is it a matter of just like deciding to stop worrying?
It's definitely easier said than done, but the article suggests that simply becoming aware of our thought patterns is a good first step. When you notice yourself dwelling on the past or fretting about the future, gently guide your attention back to the present moment. What are you doing right now? What can you see, hear, feel?
Yeah. It's like hitting the reset button on your brain. Instead of getting swept away by anxieties, you're grounding yourself in the present.
Exactly. And the more we practice presence, the easier it becomes to let go of those unproductive thoughts and focus our energy on what truly matters in the here and now.
It sounds like all of these laws, while distinct, are really interconnected. We talked about managing distractions with Carlson's law, working with our natural rhythms, with Frase's law, acknowledging our limits with Illich's law, and now finding presence with Pearl's principle. It feels like they all contribute to a more balanced and intentional approach to time.
I think so too. They absolutely do. And that's what's so brilliant about this framework. It's not just about ticking off tasks more efficiently. It's about cultivating a healthier and more sustainable relationship with time.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from practical tips to deeper philosophical concepts, but ultimately it all comes back to that initial point. Time management is a skill. It's something we can continuously improve upon.
And just like any skill, it takes practice and experimentation. What works for one person might not work for another. So it's about finding what resonates with you and your own unique rhythms and priorities.
Totally. What I'm taking away from this deep dive is that it's not about achieving some mythical state of perfect time management. It's about making conscious choices, experimenting with different strategies, and ultimately designing a life that feels balanced and fulfilling.
Yeah, I think that's a great takeaway. And if you could walk away with just one thing from this conversation, I'd encourage you to choose one of these laws that particularly resonated with you.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah.
Choose one, focus on it, and see how it can make a difference in your life.
Exactly. Maybe you start setting firmer deadlines using Parkinson's law, or become more mindful of distractions with Carlson's law. The key is to start small, experiment, and find what works best for you.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. I know I'm feeling inspired to reclaim my time and focus on what truly matters.
Me too. Remember, time is our most valuable resource, and how we choose to spend it shapes the quality of our lives.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the fascinating world of time management. Until next time, may you find peace, presence, and productivity in every hour of your day.